Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now, I don't know about you, but when I decided that I wanted to start sewing my own clothing, the first thing that I did was to go online and type in beginner-friendly sewing patterns. If you've done this yourself, you probably know that you get a lot of suggestions for things like how to make your own curtains, how to sew a table runner, DIY bookmarks, how to make a hair scrunchie. And while these are all well and good, I think that if you want to learn how to sew your own clothing, it's important to learn how to sew by sewing clothing. And there are a couple of reasons for that. Learning something that is completely new to you is hard. There's going to be moments that are frustrating. There's going to be bumps along the way where you have to figure out why your sewing machine isn't doing what you want it to do, right? There's going to be an investment of time, an investment of money and materials. And so I think it's really important if you want to learn how to sew clothing that you choose a project at the beginning that is exciting to you, that's something that you really want to make, because that excitement is going to motivate you to learn the skills required to make what you actually want to make. You're going to be so much more successful, you're going to have more fun, and you're going to end up with something that you can wear, which is the whole point, right? So in this video, I'm going to share a handful of patterns with you that are beginner friendly, but that are actually cute, are things that you want to wear, you want to use, you're excited about making. Let's go ahead and get into the patterns. First up, one of the most common beginner recommended projects that I see people talk about making is a boxy top. Now, there are a lot of reasons for this. One, it doesn't take up a lot of fabric. Two, it's a really, really simple sew. You only do a couple of seams and they're straight. And three, you don't really have to fit it to your body. If it's big enough, that's kind of it, right? It's a boxy top. So there's a variety of boxy top patterns out there. There's the free fabric store Augustina boxy top. There's the Elizabeth Suzanne Georgia tee and dress. I know there's the Allwell Studio boxy top. There's a variety to choose from. They're all pretty similar. And what I would suggest to you as a beginner is to pick one of these, maybe pick the free one to try out, right? But consider leaving off those arm cuffs that are included in most of the patterns. I'll put some pictures up here too. But the majority of these boxy top patterns are two pieces, front and back. And then they also include these thick rectangular cuffs or armbands that go sort of in place of a sleeve. And I think if you have the right fabric and if that's a style that you like, it can be successful. But I found that when I first made a boxy top and I included those arm cuffs, they kind of flare out. Again, I'll try to find a picture for you, but it would fall over the shoulder. And then because it's just a rectangular band, it would kind of wing out. Does that make sense? And I think if you use a drapey fabric, it'll lay a little bit more comfortably. But if you're using a 100% cotton or a linen, which I think a lot of beginners are often using, like quilting cottons or thrifted fabrics or inexpensive, bed linens or things like that. The boxy tee it's a great first sewing pattern. However, I think that stylistically it looks a little bit more homemade and it looks a little bit more of an amateur project if you have these little rectangular wing things coming off of your sleeves. So I did recently make an Elizabeth Suzanne Georgia tee and I just left those off. I added about an inch to the sleeve, to the arm opening area so I could turn it under and hem it. But I just think it looks so much more elegant. These are intentionally boxy, oversized tops, right? So it's going to have a bit of a drop shoulder. And then if you just hem it, it drapes really nicely and it looks intentional. It looks like a sleeveless top. And yeah, it's easier too for beginners because then the only thing that you're sewing is the shoulders, the side seams, you're hemming some things, and then there's one piece of bias binding for the neckline. So I suggest the boxy top, and I suggest that you consider, maybe leaving off those big sleeve cuffs. Another basic top that I think is a great beginner project, but that results in something you actually will want to wear, is the Stellan tee. This is a free pattern. It's meant for t-shirt fabrics or knit stretch fabrics. And again, the construction's really simple, but you're going to end up with something that is very, very wearable. And I also think that the Stellan tee instructions are really great for beginners. It's a quick make, it doesn't take a lot of fabric, and you'll learn a lot of skills. Again, if you make both of these, you'll have made a woven top and a knit top that are both really straightforward, but very cool, very stylish, cute pieces. Another beginner-friendly garment that I suggest giving a go is the free Peppermint Magazine wrap skirt. Now, this is a fairly straightforward make. You will learn how to make a dart if you've never done that before, and I believe there's one buttonhole. You're not actually sewing on any buttons, but to fit the waist tie strap through, you'll learn how to make one buttonhole. It's very approachable. Start with one. And other than that, it's just the straight side seams and a hem. And I think that a wrap skirt is such a classic piece that it's achievable to make as a beginner, and the result looks really professional. It looks really stylish. There's a long view as well as a mini version. And again, it's a project that doesn't take a whole lot of time or skill, but you might learn how to do a buttonhole for the first time or a dart for the first time. And I've seen so many beautiful versions that people have made of this pattern over on Instagram, and I think it's one that you'll be excited to wear, and it looks really professional. Another free pattern that I suggest to beginners is the Helen's Closet Orchard top and dress. Now, this is another really simple, really great basic piece, and the construction is very, very simple as well. So this pattern is meant for woven fabrics, so another great opportunity to use a cotton or a linen. And basically there's just two pieces. Again, there's a front and the back. They're actually the same on this pattern, so the neckline is the same on the front and the back. And then you just have bias binding for the front and back pieces at the neck, and then bias binding for the straps. So it's a really simple construction, but I think the result is really beautiful, really classic. Also, for complete beginners, if you choose to make the orchard top or orchard dress, it does suggest that you make your binding pieces out of the fabric that you're making the top or dress with. But if you're intimidated by that at all, you can just buy the bias binding, and then the process is incredibly simple. You're just sewing the side seams and the hem, and then those binding pieces are already made for you. So that's something to consider as well. Another great and very wearable pattern for beginners to make is a pair of woven shorts. So whether it's one of these free boxer short patterns, or there are a couple of free pajama short patterns, or if you decide to purchase a pattern for a woven short, I can suggest the Pomona pants short, the Emily Lightly Frey pants short. Truly, there are so many elastic waist woven short patterns. If you're an absolute beginner, try one of the free pajama pant short options. They typically don't have pockets, but that's a great place to start. It's very forgiving as well, similar to the Boxy tee, right? It's a loose, elastic waist. You're not really worried about fitting as long as they're big enough. And yeah, I think making a cute pair of cotton or linen shorts is an incredibly wearable item, and it will teach you the basics of how to construct bottoms. So that's something that I would definitely suggest to beginners as well. And I will make sure to list all of the patterns and suggestions in the description box below. Another pair of shorts that I would highly recommend is the Unfettered Patterns bike shorts. Now, this is intended for stretch fabrics or knit fabrics. The construction is very, very simple. It took less than an hour from start to finish for me to make these, and I think if you're interested in athletic wear or just casual, comfortable bike shorts for around the house, I think that this is a great pattern. It's free, it doesn't take very much fabric. Another really great beginner-friendly option that is very cute and stylish as well. I do want to include a couple of accessories because I think that so often you see the same suggested projects to beginners, and there are ways to elevate those. So, one example being a tote bag. I often see it recommended to make one of those basic 2 rectangles of fabric with a strap sort of tote bags. If you know what I mean, I'll put some pictures up too. And that's fine. However, I think you can make a very beginner friendly tote bag that is a lot more stylish and a lot more unique. So I have 2 patterns that sort of fit the try making a tote bag suggestion. The first is the Neighborhood Patterns Neighborhood Day Tote. This is such a cool pattern. It has a classic sort of like beach tote styling. I'll insert some pictures, of course. It has pockets. It has a reinforced bottom, which is really important when you're toting things around, that the corners and the bottom are reinforced. The straps are really sturdy. I think if you're interested in making a big tote bag that you're actually interested in using for things like books or groceries or whatever you're toting around, definitely consider the Neighborhood Day Tote pattern. It has really cool details and it is very beginner friendly. Also, if you have not heard of Titka Studios before, I will link their website below, but they have so many great bag patterns, and all of their samples are made in a neutral canvas, which I think is really modern and cool, and it shows how diverse all of the designs are. The pattern that I'm going to feature for this tote bag recommendation is the triangle tote. And it's just so cool. It's so modern. The details are really interesting. It's very, very beginner friendly construction, but it's a much more interesting, more stylish silhouette than just a rectangle tote. Another project that I think would be really great for a complete beginner to make that's actually cute and useful is an apron. Now, you could go the frilly feminine apron route, but what I think is really cool and actually more functional is to kind of take a utilitarian perspective on it. And I found a couple of apron patterns that are very, very cool. The first one is free. It's actually another Helen's Closet pattern, and I'll put a photo here. But it's very, very basic construction. You need to know how to hem things and how to sew a straight stitch. And there's pockets. You can really customize it with what items you want to carry around, right? Maybe it's not a cooking apron, but it's more of a crafting apron or a painting or woodworking apron, right? You can kind of customize the pockets for the tools that you want to have on hand, which is really cool. And another version that's kind of a similar thing that has a similar utilitarian feel is the Merchant and Mills Workaday apron. This one does have a cost. I think it's $11 or $12, but really, really cool details. Very much a beginner-friendly project and a really useful object as well. Again, you don't have to worry about the fit. It doesn't take a lot of fabric, and the result is really cool. So those are just a few ideas of beginner-friendly patterns that are actually cute, that are really easy to make, really fun to make, and patterns that I think you'll actually enjoy wearing and using. So I hope this video was helpful. If you are a complete beginner, I'm so excited for you. Sewing is such a superpower. When you get comfortable with your machine and with basic stitches, you really can make anything that you want. You know, you can make simple things like placemats and bookmarks, but you can also make your own jeans. You know, you can make your own tailored blazers. And from there, you can really do anything that you want. I've been sewing the majority of my clothing for a couple of years now, And it's so fulfilling to be able to make things that you know are really high quality, that fit you really well. And yeah, you get to say, thanks, I made it. So if you did enjoy today's video, please do consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons below. It really helps out my channel. And if you've made a couple of these beginner projects and you're interested in trying something a little bit more difficult, such as making a button-down shirt, for instance, or making your own jeans, I have made videos on both of those and I will link them below. Thank you again for spending some time with me today. I hope you're doing really well, and I will see you very soon.